Hi everyone, welcome to another video by me, the Techie Prepper. I think this is a timely video. I know in the Northeast there's a bomb cyclone or hurricane coming through, a big nor'easter going to hit the northeastern seaboard here of the U.S. I happen to be in hurricane country, and it's going to dip down to the 30s here for a day or two, and that is pretty cold for my neck of the woods. So I know there was the problem in Texas, last winter, and people were without power and heat, and I'm gonna use my experience to relay to you what I would do under those circumstances if it were to get cold and the power was out, to try to stay warm. If you do have other means to stay warm, going to somebody else's house or any other way that you think is best, then please do that. I'm just here to present my thoughts and ideas and how I would do it, and if you can take something from that knowledge, that's great. So let me get right to it and tell you what I'm using. I'm using a two-person tent, and the reason I'm using that is because if you are in a house or apartment with no power or heat, it is much easier to heat a small area versus a large area. If you have a 10 by 10 bedroom, it takes a lot of energy to heat that, whereas you have a little 4 by 5 tent, and that is less area to heat, takes less energy. Typically, body heat alone will keep it relatively warm in not so cold environments. Anybody who spent time in a tent by themselves or with another person in the summer knows what I'm talking about, right? It gets hot. You have to worry about ventilation in the summer to keep cool. Now that principle right there works well in the wintertime, because what makes the tent waterproof also traps heat. It reduces the breathability, right? So all that heat that's generated inside the tent is kept in there to a certain degree. So I'll show you what we're using. It's your typical two-person tent. I believe this one is nylon, made of either nylon or polyester, neither of which really breathes very well. So like I said, that works to our benefit to retain heat generated inside in the wintertime. And what I've done is, on top, there is the typical vent on top, and there's usually a rain fly that goes over this that you strap down to keep the rain from blowing in, but allows it to vent still. What I've done is I've taken a towel and I've covered that up. And to further insulate the tent, what I've done is I've taken the blanket, just a blanket I found around the house, and wrapped it around 3/4 of the tent. This just adds some further insulation to it. So underneath, depending on where you're putting this tent, if you're putting it on hardwood floors, concrete, or tile, you want to insulate the bottom. So what I've done is use cardboard. You can use blankets underneath, foam, a mattress topper, or anything like that, just to give you some insulation between the cold floor and the base or the floor of the tent. Also inside, I've put a blanket, and obviously the more insulation you can provide, the better it will retain the heat. So that's how I've got that set up. Now what I'm going to do is this is a 500 watt-hour solar generator, or power pack, depends on what you like to call them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a little 260 watt. I think they're 300 watt is how they label them. I got this one from biggest department store in the world. Starts with a W. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to put it in the pan, because this isn't a ceramic heater. It's got an actual heating element in it, and I don't want it to tip over while we're heating. It does have a safety feature that's supposed to click it off, but I still don't want it touching my blankets or anything inside that could possibly catch fire. So if I'm sleeping in there and I roll over and I hit it, it's going to go like that. It's going to turn off, hopefully, and this is going to shield it from anything flammable. And as part of that, I'm going to be using a regular AC timer. And the reason for this is, I'm going to sit down here for a second. getting old with these legs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the timer in line with this and hook the heater into it. All right. I'm going to plug this in over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this timer set to turn on the heater for 5 minutes and then turn it off for 15 minutes. And then it's going to repeat that cycle over and over. And what that will allow me to do with a 500 watt hour solar charger or battery pack is to run it for approximately 8 hours. Okay, so what are some guidelines? Now that I've shown you what I plan to do, some tips for setting this up in your apartment or your house. You want to look for the warmest area of the house, obviously. If you have any question about that and you have pets, look for where they go in the wintertime. And what you want to do is you want to put this in the warmest area of the house and hopefully in an area where it gets some sun. Because what that'll allow you to do is get some solar gain. And solar gain is basically a greenhouse effect. So say my natural light's coming from this side, right? It's actually coming from the kind of southwest, right, at this time of the day. So if I wanted to keep it warm and absorb some of that heat, you want to come over, you want to keep the rest of it insulated with the blanket and allow this to be exposed to the sunlight. So if the sun is beating down on it, then expose that portion and keep the rest covered and insulated. That will allow some of the sun's energy to heat the interior of the tent, and the extra insulation will hopefully help retain some of that heat. So a little safety info. Obviously, you want to allow some ventilation, so I have left the front face of this open where I get in and out, because you want to have some oxygen flow in and out if you're going to be in there for long periods of time sleeping and that type of thing. You don't want to wake up and be lacking oxygen or struggling to breathe. Don't use any open flames or anything like that inside the tent that could cause a fire. Take care of your body when you're in there. So if you're without heat and you're using a setup like this, you want to make sure that you actually eat, okay, and drink. Very important. You want to eat small meals throughout the day to kind of graze, and that keeps your metabolism up and keeps your body generating heat. And it's also very important to stay hydrated. Hydrating your body in the winter, is sometimes taken for granted. But if you're put in a situation like this, stressful, cold, you have a tendency to, like I said, focus on your surroundings and your predicament versus taking care of yourself. And it's important to take care of yourself so that you have rational thought and you can actually then take care of your surroundings, okay? So make sure that you hydrate. That also helps stave off hypothermia to some degree. As long as your body's hydrated, it regulates temperature a lot better. So make sure that you eat and you hydrate if you're put in a situation like this. That's very important. So now that I've shown you all the equipment, let's get techie and see how much we can heat this thing up and how quickly. Okay, good morning everyone. Now we're going to do the empirical part of the video. So as you can see, it's about 46 degrees, which is very cold for this area. It's about 6:15 in the morning. I had to wait to get this window where it would be the coldest point because it doesn't happen very often where I live. So as you can see, I have the tent set up from the beginning of the video yesterday. I've got the towel over the vent on top, and then I have the 3/4 of the tent insulated with a blanket. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get inside and I'm going to stand there for 20 minutes, and I am going to record the baseline temperature when I hop in the tent. I'm going to run the heater for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to take measurements every 5 minutes to see how well the tent maintains the temperature. Boy, I'm having a hard time even speaking. All right, so let's get in, and we'll take our baseline right here, and then I'll hop in. So this is the fastest reacting thermometer I could find. It's actually a meat thermometer, believe it or not. So it's going to get to about 46 degrees probably. That's what it's outside. So I'm going to hop in now, and we'll take measurements along the way. Okay, so as you can see, I'm inside the tent now. I have my battery operated light just so we can see what's going on. This is my setup. I have the 300 watt space heater, and I actually measured it with my kilowatt. It actually draws 260 watts. So I have it in my pan to protect it from tipping over and possibly lighting something on fire. And there's my solar generator slash battery pack and my timer. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in and start it up. And then, okay, so it's been about 5 minutes, and I just turned the thermometer on. Let's see what it's registering now. I can tell you it's warm in here for sure. Okay, so it's about 69 degrees. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes now, and the walls of the tent are cool but not cold. You can see the I did leave an opening to allow some fresh air, and you can actually feel the cold air pouring in through there. And let's take a look at our temperature now. Okay, so it's dropping 60, we'll call it 62 at that point. Okay, it's now 6:35, so it's been 10 minutes since the heater was on, and the temperature in here now is approximately 62 degrees, and I can tell you I am comfortable. I'm wearing shorts, socks, a waffle shirt, and my vest, and you know, I can sit in here. I can imagine with a blanket or a sleeping bag, it'd be very comfortable. But let's give it another 5 minutes, see where the temperature drops. And I've decided to actually let the heater kick on one more time and see if, you know, with I think we started at a 46 baseline when we first started this experiment. So I think when if it doesn't have to work as hard, I think it might actually get even warmer. Okay, so we've reached our 15-minute mark. Hopefully you can see, yeah, 6:40. And let's take a look at our temperature. So the heater was on for 5 minutes, and then it's been off for 15 now. Now let's see where we're at on the temperature scale here. So 62 degrees. Okay, so it's 6:46. I had the heater on the second time for 5 minutes. And let's see what our temperature is now. I can tell you it's pretty toasty in here, sitting straight up. So yeah, you can see 76 degrees basically. So we hit 76 just as I thought. The baseline is going to move up every time you have this thing cycle. And we'll take a quick look outside just to verify, you know, nothing funny is going on here. I can show you that I can feel the cold air coming in. This is my little ventilation. I left a little hole at the bottom to get fresh air in so we can breathe. Let's see what our temperature is outside the garage here. I can feel the cold air rushing in. About 48 degrees. So in about a 30-degree delta. And I imagine, like I said, if you had another person in here, you know, it'd be even warmer and maintain the heat even better. But just for one person, this works fine. So let me give you the cost of my setup. Altogether, you're looking at about $350 for a 500 watt hour, 500 watt solar generator slash power pack. So that's about $350. The solar panel to charge this up is about $150. You can either buy the fold out one, or you can buy a regular framed one and make the cable adjustments to make it work with this. Either way, you're looking at between $130 and $150 for all that. And then you have your two-man tent, which is about $25. You have your heater, which is about $10. Your timer. Now this is an old-fashioned analog timer. You plug it in, it's like, it starts grinding around, keeps the time, and then it's got the pop-up triggers. So I would not recommend this one in particular. I would actually get a $15 digital timer with cycles in it, and that will allow you a little finer adjustment. And that's important too, because you may have to adjust the time for on and off for your heater, depending on where you are, how much insulation you have, what the temperature is, that type of thing. So this is going to work for me, but like I said, I would get a $15. I just looked today. The price is $15 on Amazon for a nice digital timer with the cycles in it. So it lets you get down to, like, I think a minute on and then so much time off. So click on and off that many times. And then blankets, the pan, that type of thing you should have around your house already, or you should have available to you, hopefully, wherever you're living. So you're looking at about $500 to $550. As I mentioned, this is my setup. You can do it, you can go for a smaller one if you don't need as much heat. You're gonna have 2 people in there with the body heat going. But this is a good baseline for me. So thank you everybody for braving the elements with me. 40 some degrees may not seem cold to a lot of you depending on where you're from, but to me it's pretty cold. It's a cold and early morning, but at least we proved the theory behind this, that you can actually take an insulated tent and heat it with some relatively safe appliances and maintain a difference between the outside temperature and the inside temperature to keep yourself warm and when you're in a dire situation or an emergency. So it does work. We proved that. And I know it may seem like it's a bit expensive, but this is multi-purpose. The biggest expense is the solar generator / power pack and the corresponding, this is a 100-watt panel to actually charge it. That's the bulk of the cost. That's about $500. The other stuff is relatively cheap, probably $50 to $60 for the tent, the heater, etc. So, but it is multi-purpose. You can get, you can check out my other videos. You can actually cook with this. You can use it for camping, for shorter power outages around the house where you want to keep your electronics charged and that type of thing. So this is multi-purpose. It won't sit in a closet just waiting for you to use it. In the event that it's 20 degrees and your power goes out and you have no heat, you can get your money's worth out of this, and using it for other purposes. So I'd like to encourage everybody to once again, if you're going to do something like this, be safe. Don't use any open flames or open elements. If you do, protect yourself somehow. Have some safety measures in place. I'd hate for anybody to get injured or worse by not being safe. If you did find anything in this video enlightening, interesting, or informative, please subscribe to my channel so you know when I have other videos coming out, and share it with friends and family who you think might be able to benefit from this and use this information to help them in their lives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.